Hi all at FIA, this is student Nick Blackwell, number 150149094. I'm here with Gabrielle today, and we're doing a screening which involves our basic measurements at different anatomical points, including the chest, waist, hips, and so on and so forth. We'll be taking her height and weight for BMI and body comp calculations, and then we'll be moving on to a passive and dynamic postural analysis. From there, we'll finish off with both a little bit of mindset work, goal setting, and food diary, just for a nice well-rounded kind of approach. So if you don't mind, we'll start things off with your height and weight.
Sure.
So we have our tape right behind us. If you don't mind, I'm just going to chuck this little chalk on top of your head.
Is that okay?
Yeah. Come on, back to the tape. Sliding this out. And yeah, we have you at 177.5 centimetres. We'll just quickly put that down. And we'll get you to step across here onto the scales. Perfect. We have you at 66.9 kilograms. Up here at the table, we have a calculator here, and we're able to calculate what's called your body mass index. And that is essentially a very universal process of measurement that gives us a number indicative of a little bit of your health. It doesn't tell us too much about it, but it does tell us if you're in a healthy weight range. And so it's taken by dividing your weight by your height squared in meters. So if we do that just here, we get a BMI of 21.23, so on and so forth. I would say that the weight is in kilograms. And so for us, we note that down here, that puts us in a normal weight category, which we would expect. Anything below an 18.5 we would consider underweight, and anything over a 24.9 we consider overweight. But as we can see, you're smack bang in the middle of that, which is a great kind of place to be.
Beautiful.
Perfect. If you don't mind now, we're going to start our, girth measurements at specific locations. So as you can see, they'll be at the chest, on the arm, waist, hip, and thigh. The chest, it'll be at the widest part of your body, typically across your bust. The arm, it'll be at the midpoint located between processes in your shoulder and your elbow. Your waist will be at the narrowest part of your body, typically right above the hip bone. Your hips themselves, we'll find the widest part. Typically we take 3 measurements. We find the widest part, one above, or one tape width above and one tape width below, and take the average of that. And that'll give us a waist-hip ratio, which we'll discuss in a minute. And the last one is the thigh. What I'll get you to do is to stand with your feet shoulder width apart and your arms hanging by your side. Where your middle finger meets your thigh is where we'll take that measurement. For us, that's a point that we can recreate again and again and again, no matter what you're wearing, that kind of thing. So it's kind of a great sense of continuity in that area, that it's always the same location. So if you don't mind stepping into the light, you to pass same around. We're going to get you to pass it around your chest, perfect. And we'll meet up right over the bust. Perfect. If you'd like to do that, or I can do that. We're going to get a bust of 89 centimetres. So I'll just quickly note that down here. You can pass it back around again. Lovely.
Which one are you doing this time?
Yeah, we're moving down to the waist. A nice gentle spot there. Oh, you know right where it is. You found your belly button. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Nice general spot. Again, it's a great spot to take a measurement from, because your belly button never really moves. So we have you at a waist of 74. I'll throw a tape here, but again, around the back of yourself. I'm going to go for the hip now. Lovely. So we currently have you sitting 99. We're going to slide it down a little bit lower to the widest part. We're coming out at 103, so that's the widest part we've found so far. I'm going to go down a little lower. And we come out at 105. So that's the widest part I can see at this point. And so we're going to go a tape measure above. That comes out at 103. Just going to let it drop a little bit. There we go. There we go. That's how it comes down. Lovely. We got 103. So 203s and 105 gives us an average of 103 and 2/3, or thereabouts. So we'll take it from there. Yeah. So if you want to take a seat, I'll show you. I'll show you the waist hip ratio first,
Okay.
and then we'll go back for our thigh and arm. So a waist hip ratio is something that we use quite commonly in this area, just because it's another very easy universal measurement for us to get. And essentially, if we look at these mean values here, for women we want a waist hip ratio below 0.8 ideally. And so essentially when you divide the measurement of the waist by the hip, we want something that is below 0.8. If you're above 0.8, we would consider you at risk, so you potentially either storing a lot of fat there or there's something else that we may need to consider. So before our calculator runs out of battery, we're going to take 76. 74, thank you. 74. Divide that by 103.67. And that gives us a waist hip ratio of 0.71, which is great. It's well below the value we were looking for. So we're just going to finish off with two more measurements. Essentially, I'm just going to quickly, if you don't mind, find the midpoint of these two processes here at your arm and elbow. Do you mind if I put a dot on your arm?
No, it's fine.
So it was 35, so 17 and a half. Just put a dot right there. And so with that measurement, I can make a reoccurring, or we can make reoccurring measurements at the same spot. So while you're sitting there, I'm just going to pass that around the inside there. And we have a girth of 28 centimeters. And last but not least, if you want to stand out just here in the light, with your feet shoulder width apart. And yep, perfect. Your hands are already resting at your side. I'm just going to slide the rope around here. Just around, up the inside of your leg, where that meets your finger. Lovely. We're going to go for 52 seconds. Perfect, thank you for that.
That's okay.
Lovely. So that's the, I guess, the simplest part out of the way. Going forward, I'm gonna ask you to do a series of things, and the first part is going to be, I guess, quite passive. I'm going to be quite standoffish and just making some observations, so to speak. It won't be interacting with you too much. There won't be any more of the tape or anything like that. So we just step back over into the light.
Okay.
That's all right. So I'm going to ask you to do something really, really silly. Can you take a couple of steps back? But I want you to march on the spot, just as you imagine a Tin Man would, for 10 paces. Yeah. Get your arms involved if you would. That's it. Perfect. point of that helps me reset your posture so that you stand as you would naturally. Perfect. If you want to just widen your feet just a touch, there we are. That'll be fine. And so I'm starting with you facing me, which is what we would call an anterior view. It just means I'm facing forward and I can make some observations here. I'm sure it'll be alright. From here, what I'm looking for is just some abnormalities or deviations in your posture. They won't be severe, or they don't have to be severe, but we'll just make some notes of what we pick up, okay? So would you be able to just rest your arms by your side? Just give me one and then let it drop. Lovely. Just by your side. Perfect. And so if you look straight ahead for me, please. Perfect. And so what I'm seeing just here at the moment, I can slide across here. There's a little, I'm starting with your head, which looks quite natural. It seems to be sitting pretty close to center, which is great. There's no rotation or tilt to it. Looking at your shoulders, it appears that your left-hand shoulder is sitting slightly higher than the other. There's a little bit of a curvature to your right one. It sits a little bit low. It's alright, don't adjust. Just sit there naturally. That's it. Shake it out. Nice. We would need you to be in a natural position to make these observations true. That's it. And there's nothing wrong with that. You'd be surprised how many people are this way. Most people, to be honest, have one or two kind of distinct asymmetrical points in their body, for sure. So yeah, for you it's your shoulders at the moment, and I can see there that, well, now that you've readjust, if you don't mind, I'm just going to sweep your hair back so I get a clear look at things. It's alright. Actually, with your hair back, it looks a bit different. They look actually pretty level. Things actually don't look too bad there. If I was to say something, it might be the other way, but that may just be the lighting at this moment. I wouldn't say either way. Just working down. At the moment, we're just looking at your arm rotation. I can judge that from your hands. Like your elbow joints facing forward nice and easily. There's no rotation there. I'm not going to fiddle with it. It's looking good right there. They're sitting tight to your body, but they are equal. So I haven't got a problem with that at all. And your hands are sitting nicely against your body in a quite neutral position. You haven't got any pronation or supination. Don't need to fiddle with them.
Sorry.
It's alright. It's alright. I understand that, like, as soon as I draw attention to it, you're going to want to do something.
Yeah.
It's okay. You're not the first, you're not the last. It's exactly what's going to happen. From here, if you don't mind, just bringing your shirt up just a touch. If you don't mind, I'm going to try and find what's called the ASIS. It's 2 points on your hip, and essentially gives us an indication of where your hip sits in terms of how level it is.
Yep.
So, just going to
That's
come down here. Your hip bone. So that's sitting there and there. We've got a little bit of tilt. So sitting right there and there. So there's probably, say, roughly a centimetre, maybe a centimetre and a half of difference between those two. And that would just indicate you've either got a bit of tilt as a result of muscular tightness in one area or another, or it may be genetic. You may have longer bones in one area or the other, where there's no way to tell for me from this. It'd be something for a professional to kind of go through at this point in time. Aside from that, if I look at your going down your leg, your weight seems to be evenly distributed. There's no real distinct left or right shift. No, I'm happy to stand on that statement. And now I'm just going to be looking at your knees. I'm hoping this is alright with you.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm just again going to find the top of your patella and see if they are sitting level. So, here, and there's a little bit of difference there again. It should almost be very similar to your hips. There's a little bit of extra elevation in what would be your right hand side. Aside from that, everything seems quite good. Your legs, you've got no excessive kind of bow-leggedness or anything like that. Your arches look great. Your feet are nice and forward facing. You're not excessively duck foot or pigeon toed. Your arches, yeah, as I said, they're healthy, not excessively arched or flat footed. And so I'm going to ask you to turn 90 degrees for me, pick a direction, and 5 marching steps, please. Nice. So we just come to a rest there. Good, as long as you're relaxed. And so again, I'm just going to be looking from this side here. And I'll be able to kind of talk about some things at the moment. The first thing that kind of stands out to me at this point is, I would say that your head's slightly forward of centre. It's definitely not uncommon, and it's definitely not something that really rings alarm bells for me at this point in time. Yes, it's not exactly what we are looking for, but it's definitely something that really isn't of greater concern at the moment. That being said, this shoulder as well appears to have a little bit of forward rotation on it.
I do slouch a lot.
Yeah. It may also be that you just have either tighter or stronger muscles in your chest, and that may be as simple as that, and that's something that we can remedy very easily. But aside from where your shoulders sit, your hips and knees on this side and ankles seem to have quite a nice plumb line to them in terms of their posture, which is great for us. It means it's one kind of less thing for us to work on. Your hands again are sitting nice and fine. So yeah, there's just those two to note there. If you don't mind, I'm going to run my fingers just down your back. I'm just looking for kyphotic and lordotic curve at the moment, and so they're just going to be in this area here, which we call the thoracic, and this area here, which we call the lumbar spine. So if I'm just to gauge that kind of curve at the moment, accounting for your scapula, it appears that, yeah, to be honest, you have quite good kyphotic and lordotic curve in that area. There's no dead straight spine, and there's no excessive curving that would put your pelvis in a bit of strife in that kind of regards at the moment. And so with that, I'm just going to work down the body once more, and I'm going to again look at your pelvis. Essentially, what I'm going to look for here is a differentiation between 2 points. Again, we're looking at the ASIS, which is at the front, the PSIS, which is another point just at the back of the body. So if you don't mind. That's alright. So I found them here, and we are expecting a little bit of difference in height between the PSIS and the ASIS. That's natural. And to be honest, yeah, you would be considered like in that normal range. It's probably a centimetre or two, and it just means that when someone's standing neutrally, they haven't twisted their pelvis like this, which is not exactly the healthiest thing we can do. Again, if you want to turn in that same direction, 90 degrees, that's it, and give us a couple more marching steps. Perfect. And so I'm just going to start at the top again, seeing how well your head's sitting, which does appear to be well. Absolutely strong on there, but making sure that there's no rotation, it's not leaning side to side. Again, I'm just going to touch either shoulder here just to level out this t-shirt and make sure that I'm getting a kind of clear reading on that kind of thing. And so, yeah, this shoulder here, potentially because it also sits forward, is sitting a little higher. Working my way down, I'm just noticing, maybe it was how your shirt was sitting, but potentially your right hand side, with the side that's elevated, your elbow is just sitting out from your body a little bit more, and that again may be due to a little bit of rotation and tightness. Aside from that, things are looking quite good. If you don't mind, I'm going to run my finger down your back, and we're just feeling for things like scoliosis or I guess other deviations. Yeah, that's it. Be nice and loose. It does, yeah. It's not exactly straight. It does seem to be a little bit of a curvature to it. Have you known about this?
Yeah, I had a physio tell me I had a mild scoliosis.
Right. Yeah. As long as there's no surprises in that kind of area, it's good to hear. If you could turn back around again and just reset. No, that's all right. Because I've still just got a couple more points to measure, which I'm assuming we're going to look at it again, which is going to be both your PSIS, so they're the points at the rear of your pelvis, and so again it will likely point towards a little bit of a deviation there. So my hand, I'm just going to start now. Right. Yep. There we are. Sorry, I found them. There's a little bit of a difference between them. A little bit of an elevation change, but it's very much the same and what we would kind of expect with the foreseen differentiation between the two previously. From there, if you wouldn't mind, sorry, I know
Sorry.
it's all right. I'm just going to take a quick look at the back of your knees, and I probably should have done this as well. There's a slight hyperextension on one knee as opposed to the other, and maybe that's just a little bit of compensation at this point to kind of center the rest of your body. But otherwise, your weight does still seem to sit almost perfectly up the middle of your body, which is great to see. I'm just going to feel one more thing, and this is your Achilles tendon. It sits pretty much between the bottom of your heel and your calf. So I've just got to check. I can almost see at this point, I almost won't have to feel that it's going perfectly up the back of your foot. I haven't got a problem with that at all. It's good to see. Clear line, there's no curvature or deviations that we'd expect or not expect to see. So I'm happy to kind of go away with that. If we get you to rotate another 90 degrees and reset for us, that would be great to see. Perfect. Hand sitting by the side, that's it. Nice. Alright. And just from things I can see here, this shoulder seems to, in itself, sit a little bit forward. Maybe that's just work or something like that. It is a very common thing to have. Aside from that though, everything else kind of tracks well. Your head is still slightly forward, but again, not too uncommon at all. Just looking at your legs there's a little bit of discrepancy. This leg here in particular is closer to hyperextension than your other leg. It's hyperextension being when the leg is almost dead straight to bending the other way. It's a very dead straight leg, as opposed to your other one, which has a little bit of give in it. If you don't mind, again, I'm just going to have a quick look at your back in terms of the kyphotic and lordotic curve. There shouldn't be too much of a change, but I'm just feeling for things here.
Yep.
I just have to smooth out your shirt to see things there, and it all looks pretty good. While there is a little bit of scapular winging, what we call, and it's going to feel a little bit weird if you don't mind. I can kind of stick my fingers in here a little bit, and it probably comes from the fact that your shoulders are sitting forward a bit. It pulls everything around, and so the scapula, which are like two plates on the back of your body, kind of get pulled to do that, and so it's not too unexpected. With that in mind, that is the end of our passive assessment. We're going to move on to a couple of movements now. So if you want to make your way over onto the carpet, hopefully it's a little bit warmer. And so we've got our magic stick here. It's going to help us out with a couple of exercises. The first one being a squat. Essentially what I'm going to get you to do is place the broom handle on top of your head. Have your arms sit at 90 degrees, I'll help you out with that. Then extend it overhead. And set yourself into a squat position. Your feet should be about shoulder width apart with a little bit of duck footing, they say, or outward toe turn. And arms dead straight, we're going to descend as far as you can go down and back up. I will get you to do it a couple of times, and I'm just going to take different looks at your body in different areas, see how things go, if you don't mind. So, if you just give me a second. Squat away, when you're ready. Yep. Nice. Nice. So far it looks quite good. You've maintained quite a neutral spine position, especially from laterally. You're not getting any kind of hunching over, which is great to see. From front on, your weight transfer is great, pretty much straight down the middle. So whatever we have going on with our hips and that kind of thing, you've kind of learned to compensate for it at that point. If you wouldn't mind doing a couple more, I'm just going to look at the back and kind of just track your movements there. You give us 3 more. Yeah, nice. Last one. Perfect. Yeah, no. That's really good to see. So it actually prompts me into the next exercise we're going to do, which is an overhead press. This you get a little bit of asymmetrical shoulder rotation when we do this. That'll just be due to the tightness and the little bit of asymmetry we have in your shoulders at this point in time. So if you don't mind, I'll quickly take the bar off your hands and show you what the overhead press is going to look like. It's almost just the first half of the exercise. So again, we're going to have our arms at 90 degrees. And then we're going to rack the bar behind our head and just push up. And point ahead. And just push to full extension. If you feel more comfortable, you can come in front of yourself. Either way, I'm just going to be looking at essentially what line your body's kind of draw at this point, as long as everything's in line, particularly with the shoulders on your back, from your back. So Yeah, resting at 90 degrees, just a little, that's it, perfect. And so you can either press from in front or behind. Nice. If you keep going through that, I'm just going to take a little bit of a walk around to see how things are going. Yeah, so from what I can see here, your left shoulder naturally sits a little bit higher than your other shoulder, and so create a little bit of an asymmetrical angle there in both your shoulders, results in your right hand actually extending at a different angle to your left. You want to give us 2 more? Yeah, nice. Pardon me.
Oh, bless you.
Thank you. Aside from that, it all looks pretty well aligned. Your arms, so your elbows track really nicely with your shoulders, so and your wrists as well. It's a nice straight line there. It's just either from front on and rear on we see a little bit of asymmetry in those. Last but not least, we're going to get you to do some push-ups. Yeah, I know everyone fears it, right? But we'll just be getting you to do some from your knees today. Hopefully you're a bit more comfortable doing that, because I'm just going to be looking at what your back does and chest does primarily in this movement, because these are the main areas that we're kind of showing some attention towards at the moment, just because they're talking to us. So we're just going to get down onto our knees. I'll show you quickly. We're just going to have a nice straight back, and our arms are going to be not tucked right against our body, but quite close, just in a nice natural position, and back up. A nice straight back. You can either have your feet on the ground or off the ground. As long as you can keep doing that, I'll try and make it as quick as possible.
Well, now my arms are all tired after doing all that.
Yeah.
So like here.
Yep. Yep. You can take a break if you like. We can sit up for a second. Not a problem. So it's actually looking quite good at the moment when things are engaged. Your shoulders actually do look quite even, which is nice, and maybe it's the load and you engaging your muscles that force them back together. There's a little bit, but it's not as exacerbated as with the overhead press. If you were able to do maybe 2 or 3 more. Nice. That's a really nice like straight back you've got going on there. Oh, and on that note, you don't need to extend your arms as much as you do. You actually hyperextend your elbows when you do a push-up. And so, I don't know if I can do it or not, but what's happening there is when you push back up, you're actually rotating your arm, and your elbow is going from here and in. And so, what I want to see a bit more is, instead of this rotation, I just want you to end at straight arms and try not to hyperextend any further. I'll tell you when to stop if you like.
See if I can do any more.
Yeah, you only need to do 1 or 2 more. And stop. And stop. That's better.
So that
Yeah, that's exactly. You can see what you're doing there.
Ah,
And so
I must have hypers.
I'm sure you seem to have quite a lot of mobility right there, and that's something we'll address. But yeah, I don't want you to do any more of that, because it does put your joints at a little bit of risk.
Okay.
No problem. And that's the end of our dynamic analysis. I will quickly just get us to fill out the last couple of pages, which is a mindset situation, or a mindset page, as well as a food diary.
Okay.
So if you wouldn't mind coming back up to the table. So, the dreaded food diary. Have you ever done one of these before?
Oh, like in health and human development at
Yep.
school.
And so, we're just going to look back on today, let's say. And would you say today is a normal day of eating for you? Have you
I've probably eaten a bit less today than I normally
Okay. Well, we'll go with that one, because most people can't remember what they ate 2 or 3 days ago, and we can just talk about, or make a note here that potentially you would eat more on a regular day than this. So if you want to start us off with breakfast, the time and the food item.
Sure. What was it? It was about 9 o'clock.
Yep.
I had 2 pieces of toast.
Yep.
Vegemite and just butter.
Not a problem.
And I had a cup of tea.
Yep. Do you want to just note down the Vegemite and butter there? Perfect. Any morning tea today?
No, I
No.
normally would. I think
Yeah.
that's what I mean by like I've eaten the same amount at lunchtime and breakfast that I
Yeah.
normally would, but I haven't had any snacks.
Okay, not a problem. So we'll move straight on to lunch. What did we have for lunch today?
Soup and bread.
Soup and bread.
Pumpkin soup.
Yep. Was that a cup or a bowl
No, like they made a big pot and I had a bowl of soup.
or? Okay. So I'm just
And cornbread.
cornbread. Righto. Do you want to just make a note for me that that's a bowl?
Oh, sorry.
Perfect, and that's all good. Was the cornbread in slices or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean it was in a round thing and I just cut myself a slice.
Okay. One or
Probably,
two?
probably 2.5.
Not a problem. Perfect. We'll just move quickly on to afternoon tea. Did we have any of that today?
No, and I normally would as
No?
well.
No. And I can see that we're before dinner time. Do you have any idea what we're having for dinner tonight?
Probably just like spaghetti or risotto or something.
Okay.
Probably something with a lot of carbs.
Okay, not a problem. Here we'll say theoretically spaghetti bolognese. How about that? Would that be one bowl?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not a problem. We just make note of that.
I've written bowl instead of bowl. Sorry.
Yeah. And here as well, actually.
Stuck at work, I'm a nurse.
Oh, right.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I didn't even.
Yeah, no. A bowl is probably a bit better than a bowl when
bowl
it
full
comes
of
to
spaghetti, yeah.
Well, it depends on whose it is. If it's yours, I guess it's made it there at the end of the day.
True.
Just on that note, do we have a time for lunch? Do you remember what time?
Yeah, it was about 1 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah, so. And we usually eat dinner around 7:30.
Okay. Are you typically a dessert eater? Do we have? Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a problem. It's all right. What's the go-to?
Usually maybe some ice cream.
Okay.
And like I'm still going through my Easter chocolate.
Okay.
So yeah. And I like to bake, so if I have like baked goods.
Righto. So on a normal night, would it be a bowl of ice cream, a cup of ice cream?
Yeah, maybe just like a little bowl of ice cream and like
Yep.
2 pieces of chocolate or something.
Okay. How many? 2 scoops?
Oh yeah, 2.5.
2.5. Sure.
Yeah.
It's all right. We're just trying to get an idea. If it's not perfectly accurate, as long as it's a good kind of representation. Yeah.
Do you want me to write what I would normally have like morning and afternoon tea?
No, we can see that you'll have those later tonight on this exact day. Morning tea and afternoon tea is kind of past at this point. We'll make note that this is typically you include morning tea and afternoon tea. Any alcohol?
No, I don't even know the last time I drank alcohol.
Yeah, not a problem. And just before we get onto the notes and talk about the fact that we might have a couple more things, dessert would typically follow dinner?
Yeah, well maybe like an hour or so later.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I don't need it straight afterwards.
right, so 8:30 at that kind of...
Yeah. Or even 9 o'clock, depending
yeah.
if I am getting up for work or not.
Yeah, not a problem. I can take over here if you like. So this is, yeah, as you were saying, not necessarily indicative of a normal day. So you would normally have afternoon tea and morning tea, you were saying? Right. What time do they kind of come around?
Well, I usually, like, at work, sort of maybe like, I start at 7, so it's usually sort of 9:30, 10 a.m.
Yep.
Obviously, like, I've eaten breakfast at 9 this
Mhm.
morning, but I normally would have had breakfast at 6:30, so
Alright.
if I was working.
Right. And 5 days a week or?
Yeah, I work 4 days a week, yeah.
And on that note, afternoon tea, when do you think that would normally happen?
Well, I usually get home around 4 o'clock, so
4
I usually
o'clock.
eat a snack because I'm probably really hungry by the time I get home.
Not a problem. And you were saying that breakfast normally occurs on a
Around
6.
6:30, yeah, before I go to work.
Yeah. No. Easy as. I mean, it's probably going to be a bit hard for you to recollect that a couple of days gone
Yeah.
than this one here. Yeah.
Holiday mode.
Nice. So within that, I'll kind of make this all completely tangible and coherent. But we'll move on to the I guess the brainstorming page. And kind of it's about behaviour and how we kind of approach the gym and our training, that kind of thing, and how you feel about what you're about to undertake and how things go there. So I want you to kind of start here for me. Like, what are your goals with this? What would you like to achieve?
I just want to gain a bit of strength and
Yeah.
that sort of thing. Maybe
Yeah.
put on a bit of muscle.
Yeah?
Yeah. Like
Is-
I work at, like, you know, I do quite a bit of labour at my job, like CPR and things like
Yeah.
that. And, you know, I'm wiped out after a round of
Yeah.
CPR, so.
Yeah, not a problem. So you want to put on a bit of muscle, is what
and
you're saying?
Maybe some cardiovascular, like, work on my fitness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Any kind of figures and time frames at all you're thinking of?
I mean, I've never really gone to the gym before. Like, I used to dance, and that was sort of how I worked out. And then COVID happened, and I started working full time, and that kind of just went out the window. So, I don't really know much about the gym. So I guess I just want to get into the habit of going and
Yeah.
make sure I actually go. And
Yeah, nice. And for us, that's a great short-term goal to have as building a routine. Like, I forget how long they say. Normally they say, like in the mainstream, that 21 days is how you build a habit. And that's a great kind of short-term for us. Hopefully we can build that habit and then continue that further on. I guess for both our sakes, at that point, you're training, and hopefully for me as a trainer, it means that you're still enjoying the gym and coming back to see our sessions. So we can put that down there as form gym attendance habit.
yeah.
Nice. And so you were talking about putting on a bit of strength, and you don't really have much to go off, do you?
What
Like,
do you mean?
in terms of, I guess, a baseline of your strength or anything like that.
Yeah, not in terms of the gym. Like, I know how I used to be able to, like, dance and things like that, but
Yeah.
that's kind of hard to put into numbers.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess we can set a kind of vague but not vague gym goal. Well, we want to say that you want to increase your strength and cardiovascular based off what we established in your first day at the gym.
Yeah, sort of like I want to be able to lift more than I can now, or like walk, run further than I can because I can't run very far.
Yeah. So what can you run? Do you know how much you can run at the moment? Do you have like a...
I can run like sort of before I'm really out of it, like 2K. It's not very far.
Well, 2Ks for us is a great kind of thing. So would we say that you want to be able to run 5K?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah. And in what kind of time frame are we thinking? 6 months or?
Oh yeah. I was like,
6
I don't
weeks.
know how long it takes to run a 6 or 5K. No, 6 months sounds good.
6 months? Okay, not a problem. And that's like flat out for you, is that kind of what you want to be able to run it flat out?
Yeah, like I want to be able to finish in like a keep up sort of with, like if I
Okay.
run a fun run or something, I don't want to
Okay.
be like a million miles behind. I want to
Yeah.
feel like I ran it pretty comfortably.
Yeah. Right, and so from there it's kind of, how do we bring the two together? How do we, what's the kind of indicator that our great gym attendance will lead to a good 6K run? And I would actually suggest something like, typically at 10 to 12 weeks, we would have a client progress from a beginner to an intermediate gym client, and we can hopefully shoot for to be the 10-week client, to be the client that is so ready, has been to the gym and every single time has not wavered on their gym attendance, but has also done really well in the gym, that we can get them to come forward to an intermediate program as soon as we think they're eligible.
Okay, yeah. Sounds good.